Hello, everybody, and welcome to Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones, and my first guest today is Amy James. Amy's Director of Development with Meals on Wheels of Metro Tulsa. Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You know, it seems like the organization has been around since dirt. When did it start? How did it get its launch?
Well, Meals on Wheels started in Tulsa in 1970, and it started with community churches making these meals in their kitchen and delivering them to those who needed it. And it spread from there.
And you mean it started in Tulsa?
Well, the Tulsa branch started.
Okay.
It's a nationwide program, but it started in each community differently. But that's how it started here.
Do you have any idea where it started?
I believe it started at First Presbyterian Church, and then there were several churches who would pitch in and they would do the cooking and the delivering for each day of the week. And then it spread from there to where we are today.
What's the criteria for who receives a meal?
Our clients are homebound, and they can be senior citizens, or they can also be disabled homebound. So while the majority of our clients are senior citizens, they don't necessarily have to be if they are disabled and homebound.
Well, you guys got just recently a big AARP grant, didn't you?
We did. We were excited to get that grant. It's helping us with some home safety projects, which is another service we provide for our clients.
How does that function?
Well, when our drivers and our volunteers go to our clients' homes to deliver their food, we also check and make sure that there aren't falling hazards, or make sure they have a doorbell that works, or if they need light bulbs changed or grab bars put in their showers, we'll help with those projects. Some larger projects we do are building ramps for people who need them with wheelchairs.
You do that?
We do that too.
What an interesting concept.
Yeah.
So you're kind of not only do you take care of the tummy, you take care of everything around them.
What we like to say is we provide more than a meal.
What do you need most besides money?
Volunteers. We always need volunteers.
Really? Is there a shortage?
There is a shortage. After COVID, we lost a lot of our volunteer base, and we've been building it back up. But it takes about 320 volunteers each week for our meals delivery. So we'd like to expand. In 2025, we're looking to add additional delivery days for some of our client routes. So we need more volunteers to do that.
What's a good round figure in terms of volunteers that you need?
Well, today we have 800 active volunteers. Now that they could volunteer 1 hour a month, or they could volunteer 5 hours a week. Mm-hmm. We have various commitments, and we're open to lots of different types of volunteering and lots of different commitments. But to expand into multi-day delivery for all of our sites, we probably need an additional 200 to 300 volunteers.
And that's one meal per day per customer?
Yes, one meal, 5 days a week.
Okay. That begs the question, how are the meals prepared?
We have a kitchen in our facility. Our facility is located on 51st Street, right across from LaFortune Park. Mm-hmm. And we have a beautiful new facility. We've been there a couple of years, but we have a wonderful commercial kitchen. And the meals are prepared there. Our kitchen staff gets there about 4:30 in the morning, and they're finished and out the door by 1. But they prepare 1,200 meals Monday through Friday.
You're kidding.
It's a big operation.
Holy Toledo.
They prepare those meals, and then we have 12 delivery sites where we take the meals to those sites, and the volunteers will come to those sites to pick up their meals to deliver to their house.
I don't think people realize the need that's out there. How many folks actually depend on Meals on Wheels just to get by?
We do about 1,200 meals every day. So that's quite a few folks.
All right, somebody watching this might say, I need their help. What do they do?
They can just call our office, and we have some client care coordinators, and they will help them get set up, and we get them qualified and get meals coming their way.
And that's all there is to it?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been with them?
I've been with them almost a year.
So as development director, where are you headed?
Well, my job is to raise the money for our operations and our programs.
Okay.
So that's a big job. We are primarily charitably funded. So we do fundraisers, and we get a lot of gifts from individuals, and then we get some foundation grants, and then we have events to help raise money for our programs.
I would venture too that in many cases by saying you're, I mean anybody who works with Meals on Wheels, that's the only face they see.
It is. A lot of times the person who delivers the food might be the only face our client sees that day. So it's a great opportunity for us also to do a wellness check on that client and making sure they're okay. We check in. Our volunteers and our drivers, they have an app on their phone. So every time they deliver a meal, they ask the client how they're doing, and they note it on the app. And then if there is a problem with the client, if we think we need to notify their family or their emergency contact, they can put it in the app, and then our client care coordinators will get in touch with their family so they know that they may need to check in on their loved one.
Sounds like a well-oiled machine.
We think so.
What's the growth factor as you look ahead? Where are you guys headed?
It's a little scary because the senior population in the U.S. is set to grow by 21% in the next 10 years as the baby boomer population hits these ages. So that's a lot of growth. So we'd love to be able to serve every person. We never want to turn anybody away, but it's gonna take more volunteers and more funding to meet that need that we know is coming our direction.
I would imagine too that you very often run into safety features that need to be addressed around the house.
Yes.
A door that won't shut properly, stairs to climb that they can't possibly climb.
Right. And our volunteers will check on that when they're in the house. And when we see a need, we actually have a fellow on staff who will go to their homes, and he will take care of those things. We need to make sure they have a doorbell so they can hear when we come. They often aren't in position to change light bulbs. And then we build safety ramps or wheelchair ramps for people who need them. We do about 12 to 18 a year. And a lot of times we'll do those in partnership with a company that might be wanting to do a team building community service project. It's a great opportunity for them to get involved.
Your volunteers then, I would assume, get a thorough background check?
Yes, all volunteers do go through a background check.
So everything is wide out in the open.
Right. Yeah. We want to keep our clients as safe as we can.
Is there any kind of a pattern that you've noted in the year that you've been there as to who signs up and when? Do they wait till the last minute?
Usually, as soon as the need's there, their family will get them in and get them signed up. But we do often have people who come to our services just on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
For instance, if they've been in the hospital and just need some support for a short amount of time. And they can be on our service, too, for as long as they need it.
So not each and every one is a long-term event.
Correct.
Is that the case nationwide?
Yes, I believe it is.
Are there yearly meetings with the various chapters where they all get together and say, here's something we need to look at, or here's something we need to work on?
We do have one every year in August, and it's actually a great opportunity for us to find out what other Meals on Wheels chapters are doing. We're all so busy doing the day-to-day. It's a great opportunity to network with those folks and find out what works in other communities that we might bring to Tulsa.
Where do you guys meet?
Last year it was in Baltimore. I believe the one for 2025 is in San Antonio. Since we're nationwide, they try to vary where we meet.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to know, is there an age requirement?
There is not. There is not. Someone, if they are homebound, they can qualify for our services.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Is there an age requirement for the volunteers?
For a volunteer, we actually would like for them to be 18, but we allow students to volunteer with their parents.
Okay, so it conceivably could be a family affair.
Absolutely.
You see much of that?
We just had our big Thanksgiving delivery. We deliver on Thanksgiving Day, and that is a great opportunity for entire families to come in, and they'll do the routes together, and I think the kids seem to love it.
If I were to guess and it's strictly a guess, but if I were to guess, I would almost say your chef has got to have some kind of enormous backup, some sort of help.
He does. He has. We have a good-sized kitchen staff in there, and actually, all of our meals are medically tailored. They're heart healthy, and they can be vegan, gluten-free, mechanically softened, so they meet the needs of our clients. But not only do we cook it back there, we also put it in the trays, put the seal on it, label it, and then pack it up. So it's quite an operation, and it does take quite a few people to get that done.
Sounds like you guys have come a long way since 1952.
I think so.
Amy, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. And if down the road we can be of any help, if you need us to run a PSA for you or something, let us know.
I certainly will.
And we'll pass that on to the folks that do that sort of thing, and we'll get it on the air for you.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you. We're going to take a short break because we got a paleontologist coming up. You're going to have to hear this guy. He'll just blow your socks off. We'll be back right after this. Well, Dr. Chris Shelton is a paleontologist and a professor here at RSU. He joins me now. Doctor, it's good to have you, my friend.
Good to be here.
Define paleontologist, if you would.
So a paleontologist is a scientist that studies the prehistoric past using fossils.
And they can be found virtually anywhere.
Anywhere. You just got to know what to look for.
Now that the sea is coming to reclaim what it lost, can we expect it to follow the same path that it followed when it left?
Well, if we're talking about the Carboniferous era, like we were a while ago, there was part of the ocean that came through then. It retreated. So there's this continuous on-lap and off-lap of water that occurs on the continent. And it happened again during the Cretaceous period when the dinosaurs were here. So you also get deposits of marine life that's younger than what we find here down in southern Oklahoma, areas like Lake Texoma, Lake Murray. It's dinosaur age, but again, it's marine fossils. So you do get areas where sometimes the water's up higher, then it retreats. So you get this rock record of terrestrial and marine or aquatic organisms.
I know that there are islands where people currently are living. They're going to have to give it up because the water's coming up.
It does. It changes. It may come up, may go down. I always point out to my students to look at maps that have been made over the last century and look at the, the delta of the Mississippi River, where all the sediment deposits, people have built houses and towns out there, but it changes almost within a decade or two. And you can see just how dramatic the shift is with land deposits versus being reclaimed by water, being redeposited. And it's going to depend on glaciation, environment, and stuff like that.
We're going to show some photos here in a couple of minutes of things that you're going to help us identify. I'd be curious to know, because I've talked to a lot of folks who fish, which I'm guilty of, who said things like, well, I was in this slough, part of a lake, and you won't believe what I found. And they'll produce. In fact, I had one fellow who found, I don't know what it was. It was some kind of I thought from something spine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, how'd you recognize it? He said, well, all I did was look down, and I went, what the heck's that?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it a curious observation on my part. Did he disturb something he shouldn't have, or is there more to that, what he found, than right in that area?
Mm-hmm. It's possible it could be. If the rock is found in place still in the sediment, there's a chance it could still have other things related to it still there. But if over time it's been weathered out by water, wind, and then more sediment deposited on it, you may not be able to find the other parts of it. They may not exist anymore, or they never were preserved to begin with.
I need to read from my notes here because I'm not bright enough to
Okay.
say I can claim a good memory.
Okay.
You discovered a fossil while on an expedition there in Africa. Only the second such discovery in the country's history. What was it?
At that time, it was a backbone section of a marine reptile called a mosasaur. And the most frequent example or most recent example that I can give y'all is the movie Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene with an animal in a big orca tank, and it comes up and eats a great white shark that's dangling from it. That's a mosasaur. But that's the Hollywood version of a mosasaur. That they've never found any remains that would equate to an animal that size. So the one that I found was probably maybe a little bit bigger than us if we were to lay out and stretch our bodies out. Recently, actually, just by coincidence, I was in Tulsa. I don't remember the name of the mall there, something Mills Mall, Hills Mall, the big mall in Tulsa.
Woodland Hills.
Yeah, that's it. Where the new outdoor or sporting goods store is. There's a store right next to it called Elegant Stone, and they have displayed in the front window a 80 to 85% complete mosasaur skeleton, which is similar in size to the bone that I found of the animal. And they're actually selling, it's from Morocco, they're selling it for $49,000. So with tax, it'll run you about $53,000. But if anybody's feeling generous this Christmas and you want to make a donation to the department, I'd be willing to take a mosasaur skeleton if anybody'd like to buy that for us.
We have, as I said earlier, we have some photos we'd like to run for the folks at home and have you tell us what we're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. What's this first one?
So this is a skull of a therapsid, specifically a dinocephalian, which I'm getting a little technical on it. But these, it's part of the group of the animals that I studied in South Africa. And this is the skull of one of them. I don't have a life reconstruction for y'all to see here, but there is one in my talk. But if you can imagine basically a hippopotamus on steroids, that's what that is. The body looks like a hippo when it's reconstructed. It's got a huge head. That skull's probably over 3.5 feet long. And it was just massive. Some of these things are way bigger than people would think they were, often because we only find an isolated bone or a fragment and not always the entire skeleton. But once you have a skull...
At first glance, I thought, it has to be a gator of some kind.
Well, that kind of brings in a debate that we have with their diet. Usually you can tell if something's carnivorous or herbivorous if it eats meat or plants. If it eats both, being omnivorous, then it's often debated, and for some reason scientists like to either claim one or the other. So in my research, I know this animal has been considered now omnivorous and not strictly carnivorous. So it looks like it has the ability to defend itself, predate on others, but it was probably also opportunistic and probably could have ate vegetation when it needed to.
Take a look at another one. What are we seeing here?
This is a megalodon fossil shark tooth. They had
a shark?
Shark tooth, the big giant. So the, I was going to say the shark we saw in the Jurassic World movie that the mosasaur ate was actually a great white. This is an ancestor kind of to the great white. For a long time ago, they thought that great white sharks had evolved from this big, giant, massive shark. But now with the molecular studies that have been done, they know that it was kind of a different line and they're not really related like they thought. But this tooth is about 5 or 6 inches long.
In the lower left-hand corner, is that part of it?
The white part that you're seeing?
Yeah.
No, that's part of the rock. So it's sitting in a boulder, a conglomerate boulder of limestone and other fossils that were then reworked and relithified. And I didn't show y'all, but in my talk, I zoom out because in these boulders, there's also bones of the prey that the sharks were eating. There's big sections of whalebone about the size of the coffee table here. Mm-hmm. And you can actually see scrape marks in the bone from where the teeth had bit into it. So as the sharks are feeding on the whales, the teeth fall out like they do in modern sharks. And they have those rows of teeth behind them that come up and take the place. So the teeth would fall out and the bones that were fed on the prey is there, the teeth are there. So it's all together. So you get an idea of sort of what happened, a little window of time back in...
Well, that thing looked like it was huge.
Well, yeah, I don't have a scale with it. I should have put something with it, but I have a scale, I think, in the presentation that I should have like a rock hammer or a pocket knife next to it.
Take a look at the next one.
So this is actually an animal that's related to octopus and squid. This is a extinct ammonite. We have a modern version.
It looks like a sugar cookie.
It does, but again, I don't have the scale on it. That's probably, I'd say maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot across almost. So it was like a snail shell, and you can actually find these really around the area. This is that ammonite that I was talking about. You can kind of find around Lake Texoma in the Cretaceous period. They get bigger there. They're smaller in the Carboniferous around here. But Lake Oologah is just full of little tiny Carboniferous ammonites with similar suture patterns. So you see the crenulation between the sections. That's in life how the shell would have connected. They have these interlocking chambers. And depending on the complexity of the chamber, or if it's more simple, they're considered different animals. So the more modern ones we have today are nautiluses or nautiloids, and they have a shell also, but they're only separated by one straight line that goes across. It's not crenulated and locks into place. The ammonites that you see there, though, went extinct when the dinosaurs went extinct. And they would reach sizes up to, I think, 10 or 11 feet is the biggest one that's been recorded from Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Next picture.
Oh, this is just scenery. It was really hard to decide what to add and what not to add, and I have a lot of images of just scenic shots that look like movie sets, really. I mean, there's a reason Cape Town was voted the #1 most beautiful city in the world for years, is because it is beautiful.
Gorgeous area.
And the ocean, the sky. These are penguins, actually, a penguin colony that I got to visit. It was a lifelong dream to see penguins in the wild. Got to see them in 2 places. There where they're protected, their breeding ground, and there's another area called Boulder Beach where you can actually interact, walk around. They swim with you in the surf. There are warning signs that say they do bite. So they do bite. I touched one. They nipped at you. But like I said, it was a lifelong dream to just be in the natural environment with penguins.
They don't attack.
They don't attack. They will bite if you touch them. And it's interesting. I forget the scientific name of these. I think they're also called Cape penguins, and I'm probably going to cuss on here, but it's called a jackass penguin because it brays like a donkey.
Oh, get out.
A little bird about that big sounds like a big, full adult donkey making noise. It's really interesting.
We got about a minute and a half. Let's see if we got another picture here that you can.
Oh, so this was my colleague who actually found half of a fossil on a field trip I took to the Karoo Basin. This was the first time I went to South Africa, and actually during our lunch break found the other half of the fossil. And it's part of a skull of a dinocephalian called Criocephalosaurus, Criocephalosaurus. And it just happens to be one of the last surviving groups of the dinocephalians and some of the youngest material ever found of them. And if you go to the Wikipedia page for that animal and Google it, my name is in the Wikipedia page for finding that material, the youngest material of that organism. And my colleague, that's Mike Day, who found the first half. He was a student at Johannesburg, and some of his professors were actually helping lead the field trip, and he is now the curator of non-mammalian vertebrate paleontology at the London Museum of Natural History.
Holy Toledo. Thank you for coming by.
Well, thank you for having me.
Will you come back?
Oh, definitely.
Because I have a feeling we could pick your brain for an entire show.
Yeah, this is just a small little window.
What you've got and where you've been.
Yeah, this is just Africa, South Africa. I spent 6 years in Europe and everywhere else too, just traveling. I just like to get out and look for stuff. If I have free time, just looking for fossils. One of the sections in my talk that I'm going to give is just the beach. And it's just walking and looking for stuff on the beach.
Well, Dr. Shelton, I want to thank you for coming by.
Well, thank you for having me.
And now that we've discovered you, it's a reservoir that we're going to be tapping more often. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We're all out of time. Thank you for being a part of it, and we'll see you back here next time.